Hello to all the wonderful people of Ardtrea Desertcreat, and thank you, David, for this opportunity of being able to say hello to everyone. Those of you with eagle eyes, I know, are not looking at me, you're looking at the clocks behind me. They're antiques, they belong to my grandparents, or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, they don't work, but at least they're right twice a day, which is twice as often as I am. Anyway, enough of that prattling. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to say, have a wonderful harvest time. Enjoy it as best you can in these really difficult and strange circumstances. But more importantly, folks, stay safe and stay well through the autumn and through the winter. And let's hope that we can have a really good Christmas time as well. It's a difficult time, but knowing many of you as I do, I know that you will take care of one another. And I know that David will be taking very good care of the parishes. And who knows, when all of this is over, if David is mad enough, he might actually invite me back to speak to everyone again. And if he does, I don't blame you if you don't turn up. Anyway, enough of that. Have a great harvest time. And thanks again, David, for being able to say hello to everyone.
Hello everyone in the parishes of Ardtrea and Desertcreat. It's almost 8 months since we have all been together. At this time, normally of the year, the choir would have been practicing for our harvest services and the churches decorated with fruit and flowers. This pandemic has changed our everyday lives and curtailed visits to our friends. But through our online services with the Reverend Bell, we can worship together. I would like to read you the Iroquois Indians' prayer, for I thought it suits the harvest. We return thanks to our Mother the Earth, which sustains us. We return thanks to the rivers and streams, which supply us with water. We return thanks to all the herbs, which furnish medicines for the cure of our diseases. We return thanks to the corn and to our sisters the beans and squash, which give us life. We return thanks to the bushes and trees, which provide us with fruit. We return thanks to the wind, which moving the air has banished diseases. We return thanks to the moon and the stars, which have given us their light when the sun was gone. We return thanks to our grandfather, Eno, who has given us his rain. We return thanks to the sun, that he has looked upon the earth with a beneficent eye. Lastly, we return thanks to the Great Spirit, in whom is embodied all goodness, and who directs all things for the good of his children.
Welcome to Sunday Thoughts Online from Ardtrea Desertcreat. As always, thank you so much for taking time to join us. We hope you enjoy today's thoughts. Today our theme is that of Harvest Thanksgiving. Now, harvest in a community like ours is one of the most colourful, happy, joyous times of the year. But this year, of course, it is strangely different. Because of COVID, people are worried about health and finances. Church attendances on Sunday are low because people are worried about coming outdoors. But we're doing these Harvest Online Thoughts. We want to say thank you to everyone who has taken part in recordings to make this possible. Even though we have worries and concerns and we're going through a difficult period, we hold on to hope that this storm will pass, and we meet, whether in church or online, to bring our thanks to God for the gift of food, and to say thank you to all those who work on the land or at sea to bring us the harvest. Here's our opening hymn, recorded by Grace and Russell.
All is safely gathered. shall take the harvest home. From the field shall in that day all offenses purge away, giving angels charge at last in the farther tares to cast. But the fruitful ears to store in the garner evermore. Even so, Lord, quickly come. Bring thy final harvest home. Gather thou thy people in, free from sorrow, free from sin. They're forever purified in thy presence to abide. Come with all thine angels, come, raise the glorious harvest home.
Someone once described the book of Psalms as being like a mirror to the soul, or songs in the key of life. Here's Laura, our new Rector's Warden at Desertcreat, to read Psalm 8, one of the creation psalms, for our harvest thoughts today.
A Psalm for Harvest, Psalm 8. O Lord our God, how majestic is your name in all the earth. You have set your glory above the heavens. From the lips of children and infants you have ordained praise, because of your enemies, to silence the foe and the avenger. When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him, the son of man that you care for him? You made him a little lower than the heavenly beings and crowned him with glory and honour. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all flocks and herds and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air and the fish of the sea, all that swim the paths of the seas. O Lord, our Lord, how majestic is your name in all the earth.
About this time last year, 40 people or so met with Alan Jones for a nature walk. They went along to Tullyhog Fort to look at all the different things growing on the hedgerows that you can eat. And they went down to the river at Loughry College. We're really pleased that Alan's back this year to lead another walk, but obviously by the time you're watching this online, the walk will have been done. But here's Alan, who also agreed to share some thoughts with our younger people.
So it's the autumn, and I love the autumn. If you were out with us yesterday on the autumn walk, you will know how much I love the autumn. If I was to say autumn to you, what would you think about first of all? I think about colder, darker mornings going to school. I think about low sun, which blinds me when I'm driving. I think about nights beside the fire, mugs of hot chocolate. That's what I think about when it comes to autumn. What colour is autumn? I think autumn might be brown and gold and yellow and oranges. Well, what flavour is autumn? I think autumn's got to be apples. I love apple tart with cream. Oh no, with custard. Oh, with ice cream actually. I think ice cream's my favourite. And I love pumpkin things. I love pumpkin soup and crusty bread. And I think autumn would also taste like pumpkin spice latte, I know, and I think it would also taste like pumpkin pie. I love pumpkin pie. I usually grow my own pumpkins, and I didn't get a chance this year because of lockdown, but usually I go down to my garden way back in March, about 8 months away, and then I get one of these. And this is a tiny little pumpkin seed. Don't know whether you can see that, but that's a pumpkin seed. And I put that into a little pot, and I cover it in compost, and I give it a water, and I stick it in my glass house. And in a couple of weeks' time, up comes this little plant, and then that little plant gets bigger, and I keep watering it, and it gets hotter in the glass house, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually I put it out into the garden. And then it gets really big, because the rain waters it, and the sun shines on it, gives it lots of energy to grow, and then eventually I get a lovely big yellow flower on the top. And that big yellow flower then is pollinated by one of the bumblebees that I have around my house, loads of them. And then what appears is a tiny little green Malteser at the bottom of the flower. And then the Malteser grows, and it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And then it goes green, and then it goes orange, and eventually I get one of these big beasties. I get a pumpkin. And I love pumpkins because I like to decorate my house in the autumn with pumpkins. And I either keep them whole, or I cut them open and I carve them up and I make them into little faces to decorate my house. I love pumpkins. Then I make the insides into pumpkin pies and pumpkin soups. That's autumn for me. When I get the top off my pumpkin, and I've got one here, I would split it open, and then I would carve out all the yucky bits inside. Now, I'm going to do this because I have a bag here, and I'm going to cut all the yucky bits out so that I can just show you. So I would scrape all the yucky bits out of the inside like this. Yeah. Like this. Look at that. And it's all yucky and stringy, and there's lots of seeds in it. And now, if I didn't take that out of there, that would be the first stuff to rot. And then my whole pumpkin would go mushy and smelly, and that's not nice in your house. You don't want a yucky, smelly pumpkin in your house. Once I've done that, then I get my really sharp knife, and I start to carve a little face. And I'm not very good at my art, so don't laugh at me. But I like to carve a little face into my pumpkin. Look at that. How cute is that? Look at his cute wee face. I've called this one Paul the pumpkin, because I think he's really cute. Look at that there. Isn't he cute? And the other thing then I like to do is I like to put a candle inside it, and I like to let it shine so that everybody can see his cute little face at night. But when I do this, and every year it happens, it reminds me of three particular things. It reminds me actually of 3 Bible verses. It reminds me, the first one, being John 3:16. You've probably heard this Bible verse 100 times before. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him wouldn't die, but would live with him forever and ever. Now, why does it remind me? Why does pumpkin carving remind me of John 3:16? Well, it's because of this. Because whoever believes in Jesus, God then wipes the slate clean, takes out all the yucky stuff from our life, all the sin. And listen, I may look good, but I'm not good all the time. God takes out all the yucky stuff from my life, takes out all the sin, and lets me start again. That's what he does for us. He loves us that much. The second thing is this. In 2 Corinthians 5, verse 17, it says, the old is gone, the new has come, and we're a new creation. So when I carve the face on the pumpkin, it's no longer just an old pumpkin. It's now Paul the pumpkin. It's got a new image, and he's a whole new creation. And it's the same with us. In that little passage, it says if we follow Jesus, we are a new creation. We have a whole new start, a whole new life. And the last Bible verse is 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 6. And in that verse, God talks about putting a light inside us. He says he wants the light to shine in the dark world around us. And so he places it inside us. Now, that doesn't mean that there's a candle or some sort of torch burning inside us. That literally means that the love that he has given us is like a beacon, like a big candle that burns inside us so that we can show other people just how much God loves us and how much he loves them. Now, it is the autumn and it is getting darker outside. And there are 3 particular festivals in the church that celebrate light at this time of year. And it's no coincidence that they're here now. We have Michaelmas, which is about the celebration and remembering of the Archangel Michael, who is a protector against darkness. Then we have All Saints' Day, which reminds us of all of the saints and the light that they bring through their Christian life. Then we also have the harvest. We have the time when we say thanks to God and we bring all of our produce, all the stuff that we've made and worked out over the year, we bring it into church and we say thank you to God for the last days of the summer light. And so when I come to carve my pumpkin, when I come to think about those 3 verses, it just reminds me that as the days grow darker, I need to be shining even brighter to the people around me. I need to be demonstrating God's love. I need to be showing God's light to the people out and around me, loving them, being kind to them, bringing them joy and happiness in the autumn.
Way back in 1988, 32 years ago, our choir recorded a tape. Remember those things? My copy is a bit wobbly and warbly, but it is over 30 years old. But here's a flashback to the past. Listen to the choir sing that lovely old hymn, Fairest Lord Jesus. And you're going to see some photographs of harvest decorations at Ardtrea Desertcreat from years gone by. Hope you enjoy this. Jeff Hamilton is currently the curate in St Mark's Parish Church in Armagh. He is no stranger to Ardtrea Desertcreat. During his years with South American Mission Society, he visited us on several occasions. I was really chuffed when he agreed to be our guest speaker for our Sunday Thoughts Online. Here's Jeff.
Our reading today is from Mark 12, verses 41 to 44. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a few pence. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." Can I firstly say it's really nice to be here and to be part of your harvest service. Firstly, I want to just give you a wee childhood memory. And for some people, this will bring you back, and for others, you'll not know what I'm talking about. But my childhood memories take me back to the 1970s, where shirt collars were the size of small airplanes, and you had to look at the weather forecast before you went out in your flares. But that was the 1970s. So the one thing that I remember, because I was only a kid at the time and I didn't have some of those mad outfits, I used to love getting, there was a wee like plastic container. Basically it was like soapy water, and you got a wee small plastic circular thing and you would make bubbles. And I loved that. I was easily pleased. But sometimes when you were blowing the bubble burst and you got that wee bit of soapy water in your eye. Bit of a crisis if you're like 4, but not that bad really. So it did get me thinking, this whole idea about bubbles. Apart from when they burst and went into your eyes, the bubble was okay. Bubbles are big news these days because it's not about soapy water, but it is actually about trying to keep us all safe and protected. But if we're honest, we have at times in our pre-COVID days lived a wee bit in a bubble. And I'll tell you why I'm thinking that. Because the bubbles I made with soapy water as a kid were delicate. And life is delicate. And I don't know about you, but one of the learning outcomes that I hope we will treasure from this time that we're in is how precious life is. A mug of tea shared with a neighbour, what value can you put in that? Being able to call to somebody's house and see how they're doing. You know, all those things that were just ordinary bits of life for us in our kind of culture. Because they've been taken away from us, it does remind us how precious the simple, small things are. So what's God saying to you and me this harvest? I've heard it said that most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. Most people don't listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. I think there's something in this for all of us, as it reminds us that listening is really, really important. So, as we fill up our oil tanks and restock our timber for our winter stoves, I really hope and pray that we'll be brave enough to listen to God in this autumn season that will run us into winter. Because there's going to be a lot of voices speaking into your life and into my life. Our televisions are packed with stories, and there's a lot of negativity and concern. So we don't deny that, but in the midst of instability, may we know God's stability. For me, listening allows us to recenter. That story, that opening story about that widow, we don't even have that lady's name, but that lady, she's a hero of mine because she's an unseen person. As far as social society goes, she's at the bottom of the ladder. She doesn't seem to have much going for her, but I love the fact that Jesus notices her. For me, that lady has stability. That lady knows what she's about, and she knows where her trust is as she gives the little that she had. So the lady who had least gave the most. I love it. Every October, I think about a story a kind of story that I kind of came across. I was asked to speak at a harvest service, and it was a family service, and I went to the church. It was a wee country church, and the kids were doing the prayers, and there's a wee 5, 6, 7-year-olds came up to the front, and a wee girl done her prayer, and she read out her wee prayer, and it was brilliant. And then a wee fella read out his prayer, and the truth be told, he mumbled the whole way through it, but dead on, it was great. And then the final wee girl didn't read out a prayer. She just kind of prayed live. And I find her prayer very touching because she was thanking God for the leaves. And I'd never thanked God for the leaves before. So on the way out, I happened to say to the minister, look, would you point out to me who brought that wee girl who prayed the last prayer? And her dad was introduced to me, and I shook his hand, back in the day when you could shake hands. And he just happened to say to me, as I happened to say to him, like, I was really touched by your daughter's prayer. And he happened to say, did you know she's blind? So the girl who was giving thanks to God for the leaves was the girl who was blind. I can't even remember driving home. It really kind of impacted me because I had eyes, but I didn't see the leaves. So it just for me reminds me of that lady, the unseen lady. The lady at the bottom of the rung of the ladder was actually a lady who knew what it was all about, and she understood value. We're all talking about the new normal. Remember our old normal when we rushed about, and actually it tripped us up on many occasions, and now we're probably able to see that a bit more. What about our new normal being a time of recentering? Let's experience God's stability this harvest, as recentering creates an opportunity to listen to the needs, hopes and concerns of others as much as our own. Recentering helps us to know what to hold on to and what to let go of. That's a big issue. Our greatest fear should not be of failure, but of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter. For many people, that widow, the unnamed widow in our Bible reading, maybe she didn't make it, or that was people's perception. I think she made it, and she knew where her stability was found, and her trust was in God. So I want to conclude with a challenge for you this harvest, and I've just called it the Harvest Challenge. This harvest, find your value and confidence in God. This harvest, find your purpose and direction in God. This harvest, find the strength to live each moment in God. This harvest, find the wisdom to navigate the many challenges of life in God. This harvest, find forgiveness in God. This harvest, find peace in God. This harvest, find life for all eternity in God. And I just want to conclude with a short prayer. Dear God, teach us to listen. Be the patience when we are frustrated. Be the endurance when we are tired. Be the wisdom when we are uncertain. In this harvest season, open our ears and hearts to your calling and help us to serve you in the ordinariness and wonder of life. Amen.
Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father.
I'm just back from our autumn walk and we had a great time. So thanks to all who came along, and thanks to Alan for taking time to lead us through Cabin Wood. Many thanks for watching our harvest video. Huge thanks to all who have been working hard to make it happen. To Sheila and to Diane and Heather and others who have been doing decorations for harvest. And we really appreciate that. To our musicians, Russell and Grace. To Laura for reading. To Jeffrey and to Alan for sharing with us. And thanks to all of you for listening. Take care of yourselves. God bless. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now.